Welcome back, my friends. Softening into a bit of standing posture before we begin. Remember that the first thing that we do is we don't. As my Sherpa would say, let everything fall open and you allow yourself to simply be here without trying to do things. Softening your face, relaxing the space between your eyebrows, around and behind your eyes, letting go of your jaw. Softening your throat and your tongue, allowing your tongue to fall into the appropriate position if you've learned that. And for today, you can emphasize softening the sides of the neck, these lines back here, letting go of the tops of the shoulders. Allowing your elbows to hang, your wrists to release, your hands to relax. And again, as your arms soften downward, continually release the sides of the neck, that line from the top corner of the shoulder all the way up to that space behind the ear. Feeling your chest soften, releasing your upper back, your shoulder blades. And for our purposes, emphasize softening the rib side, sides of the abdomen, space all the way along, the intercostals and through here. As you release these spaces, you might feel your breath move into them easily, but do not control your breath. Just make space. Softening your belly and your lower back. As your lower back softens and your tailbone sinks, deeply let go of the glutes, the hips, sides of the hips, so that this line here from the tailbone wrapping around here through the glutes to the sides of the hips, feel all of that release open and down. Letting go of the sides of the legs, all the way from the sides of the hip down to the feet, and even the lateral edges of the feet. Letting go all the way through the thighs, the knees, especially this outer corner of the knee, that musculature along the front of the leg. Soften your calves. Letting go of your feet. Your whole body soft and relaxed, quiet. Closing when you're finished. Everything sinks and settles down, coming to rest in that space deep to the navel. I know that by now you've all heard this a lot, but please do let go of any tension in the belly, your lower back. Feeling that space inside, beneath your belly button, as best you can. And if for some reason you're new here to this series, welcome. You've stumbled into the middle of a 100-day-long series of classes, so probably better to find the link below and click back to the very first of this series and the introduction there. Much better way to begin. So as some of you have already guessed from the outline and from the color of the clothing that I'm wearing, today we are emphasizing the gallbladder channel, the gallbladder sinew channel, which runs from the fourth toe, up top of the foot, side of the leg, attaching through here, again to this gallbladder 34 point, where a lot of the sinew channel efforts come together. Sinews in general tie into this location. Kind of opening into the side of the knee here, coming up again, lateral side of the leg, almost like following the seam of your pants, all the way up to connect here at the hip. And there's a part of it that wraps around here. This is a very famous point called Huantiao, gallbladder 30, that we often spend time working with. And this channel wraps through that point and connects to the tailbone, the sacrum. And of course, then continues to ascend up the side of the body, connecting a little bit here in the ribs, up and through, and from the top of the shoulder through this line along the back of the neck, not quite completely on the spine, but off to the side, from the top of the shoulder up to the base of the skull on either side here. And then continues to wrap around the ears, the side of the head, connects to the eye, the top of the head. And so for our purposes today as practice, we want to take the time to lengthen, release, open, and activate that sinew line, making sure that it is free and open. And if, as usual, we continue through the practice and you discover that, man, this is especially stiff for me, and actually somebody I was working with just this morning made that claim, then you'll definitely want to spend some time working with this particular version of the snake and turtle form. Also, perhaps visit an acupuncturist or a massage therapist, but do spend time opening, warming, softening the line of the side of your body, this gallbladder sinew channel. and you'll find your whole body opening in new directions. You will be surprised. And so, settling here, gently beginning to circle outward. As usual, starting in the middle, warming and softening the belly, letting our awareness expand outward through the abdomen. Softening all the way out, including to the sides of the abdomen from the inside, if you can, and then spiraling back inward again. Slowly collecting that chi and returning it, warming the center, the space between the navel and the spine for our purposes. And then let's warm up the lower back a little bit. And spend a little time here around the tailbone, softening and warming the sides of the glutes, that gallbladder point I was talking about. And for today, we'll spend a little extra time, for instance, working up and down along the sides of the body, for obvious reasons. We want to help these spaces open. I want you to be able to explore them in your practice. Feels good. Let's soften the sides of the neck, releasing the corner of your jaw. And for today, emphasize the softening of the shoulder sinks, and at the same time, this space here, just in the back of the neck opens. And so as you lean your shoulder down, that is, your fingers extend toward the ground, and your head leans in the opposite direction, look a little bit away from that shoulder to help open that line in the back of the neck slightly. Returning, and again, softening along the side, a little bit looking down, and then returning. So, slight variation on our normal practice, just to help emphasize this commonly stuck and debilitated, undernourished sinew channel. Remember to lengthen through the spine. And then a little bit of left and right, yin and yang. Softening along the sides of the body. The hands descend along the sides, releasing. Falling down and through the leg into the ground. Softening through. Weight flowing into the ground. Now there is a quality of the sinews that is exemplified in the gallbladder channel in particular, the liver and gallbladder. But the sinew channel associated with the gallbladder channel is often undernourished, but it's very potent. And you want to be able to allow it to stretch open through release. So you're falling open along the sides of the body, and the weight falling through, releasing your arms. And in fact, there's a fun movement that I learned about this morning, that if your sinew channels are open and lengthened, and you're resting on them in a particular way, your whole body becomes very springy. And I didn't know that I could do this until this morning, and I had a friend describe it to me. But I'm just going to stand, and I'm going to stand and rest the weight along these particular sinew channels. And I'm just floating now. My muscles are released. My body is opened in the way that I've described to you before. And what I'm going to do now is, if I don't put my weight into that space, my weight is just standing normally on my bones, and I throw my hands down so that a wave of pressure hits my feet, nothing happens. I'm just throwing my arms down to try to bounce against the ground. And now I'm going to settle into that sinew line and watch what happens. I'm not going to do anything except throw my arms down. And if I stand for long enough, that'll actually become quite a large hop. And it's just because of the springiness of that part of the body. I'm just sending a wave down, and the elasticity of it opens and causes me to bounce. It's kind of a funny thing. It feels funny inside. I'm not jumping. It's just that my joints go boing. And this is a quality of the sinew channels. And as we move, we want to allow that springy, elastic quality to become free and expansive. So let's try snake swaying side to side like a wave, snake softening its sides. And instead of allowing our hands to float up and down near the spine, today let's let our hands drift up and down alongside, along this gallbladder sinew line. Opening along the side of the body. Remember that you are lengthening. Do not close down, especially not along this gallbladder line that we're working to open. Instead, emphasize the lengthening all the way through the top of the head, opening here on the back of the neck, tops of the shoulders, releasing all the way through, even to the feet. And again, if you are allowing your body to soften open so that the tissues naturally stretch without pressure, it's simply a release, then your body becomes very springy, like I was showing you. And you allow this springy, expansive, elastic capacity to happen all on its own. Easy, warm, and gentle. This is one of those that's particularly good for the gallbladder line, the liver line. So you want to be extra generous with this one particular practice. And again, closing. Wonderful. Let's soften open the hips a bit. Circling around. I'll put my hands here on the sides. Allow my thumbs to rest in that space in the center of the glute. Softening all the way around. For this one, just emphasizing the release, especially along the side and the back of the hip, circling around. Your tailbone as though dragging a tail beneath you. Both directions. Keeping the sides of your waist, your hips open. Don't squeeze your rear end. Soften. And then, larger circles. Again, I'll place my hands back here, right along this gallbladder sinew line. I'll just keep saying it for you. Circling around. Opening. Emphasizing this moment as your hips travel back and these spaces spread open. But also, as your hips come forward, do not squeeze in the back. Soften in the front. Make sure that this stays open. You're releasing all the way through, lengthwise, through the ground, down into the earth beneath you. Just curving in the middle. Both directions. Wonderful. And then the upper spine, as usual. But of course, emphasizing the sinking of the shoulder, opening this space here, and this space just behind, toward the back of the neck. Side of the jaw, you might experience an opening and a lengthening along the side of the face, the base of the ear. Both directions. Remember to continue lengthening through the spine to the top of the head. As usual, do not close as much as you open. Don't crimp your neck, especially today, not along the back and sides. When you're ready, gazing down between your feet, softening the base of your neck, the middle of your neck, and the top of the neck near the spine, and then gently looking up and down. Softening the base of the throat, middle of the throat, top of the throat near the jaw, and releasing your jaw and your tongue. And then again, lengthening, opening. Slowly rolling back up when you're ready. And once again, closing. Waiting for that sense of settling to occur. Let's do a series in preparation for softening front and back like a wave. Starting with the shoulders. 1 foot in front, 1 foot in back. Rolling that rear shoulder around. As usual, make sure that this front leg and front arm is stable in space so that you're closing toward it and opening away from it. And for us today, emphasizing especially this moment when the shoulder releases, softens down toward the fingertips, crown of the head floats up, opening that line. Both directions. And of course, both sides. Softening down. If you're able to do it, I know that might be too much to ask for a lot of you, as your shoulder comes up, rather than trying to lift your shoulder, instead release the top of your hip, the sides of your ribs. In the same way, once you get good enough, when this space releases, it actually opens, it expands. And that's enough to lift your shoulder up. So I'm not actually lifting my shoulder here, I'm softening here. And my arm pops up and goes around, softening the front, softening the top, softening the back, softening beneath. So you never have to lift and pull, you're continuously releasing all of the corners of the shoulder in a circle. And that may be a lot to ask at this stage, depending on where you are, so don't worry about it. You can simply focus on letting go, both directions. But if you are able to start softening here, then it's especially wonderful for this gallbladder sinew channel. Letting go all the way to the hip, the knee, the foot. Weight pours from one leg to the other. Turning your waist gently. Crown of the head stays floating up. Wonderful. Similarly, both sides at once, emphasizing this opening through the neck and the shoulders. And if you can, both arms float up, softening the rib sides, softening the hips, making space. That one does take practice. So for many of you, it will just be keeping the possibility alive in the back of your mind. Both directions. And then diagonal, letting go, opening up, letting go, opening up. Remember that the sinking on one side lifts the other side. Just dropping, because these are related, lifts the other side. Just the opening on this side helps this one drop. So you're softening all the way around your torso with each circle. Softening your hips. Weight pours down one side, weight pours down the other, just like we were practicing earlier. And then we change. Easy. Crown of the head staying floating upward in the middle. Nice. Closing with your newly softened shoulders. So now let's fall into the series that leads to the snake softening front and back. Begin by releasing your head and neck in this circle, like a car tire rolling forward. Again, just as a reminder, we lengthen. And so even as my chin drops down, I don't close my throat. Make sure you don't close your throat. You just lengthen the back. You can hear my voice is the same. I'm not squeezing down. And then as I look up, don't crimp and close the back of your neck. Just open the throat, open the jaw, and go around the circle. So your spine is consistently lengthening. Nothing is being closed down upon. I see that happen too often. And then as well, let's begin to roll the shoulders with the movement. And begin to allow that to spread through the upper spine, the lower back, the belly softens, the hips release, the knees and the feet. You can take an extra bit of time to soften as you open the tailbone and the lower back as you release forward. Make sure that you don't skip that area, especially not today. And then we begin to taper off, keeping this liquid whole body movement. And then again, closing. Wonderful. So let's prep for the black snake movement by softening the neck, side to side, looking up and over, back and down, the opposite side opening up, release to the center, up and over, back and down, releasing to the center. So you might find that as you look back and down, if you soften your neck appropriately, that you can slightly lengthen and open that gallbladder line we were talking about back here. Also releasing that opposite top of the shoulder. Release your jaw, turn your eyes. And then let's look down and up behind. Releasing down, looking up and back, turning your eyes. And again, this opens a different line. See how it relates to that gallbladder sinew line through the top of the shoulder, the sides and back of the neck, sides of your head, your eyes, your jaw, around your ear. Be very gentle. Don't pull. We just emphasize the opening aspect. And then, again, coming back to center. Let's do the tech neck movement here, so-called embracing the mountain. Hands behind your head gently. Remember that we draw our elbows back, gently pushing our hands into the head. Draw our head back, gently pushing into our hands. But the emphasis is not on pushing on the head, but rather on lengthening. So your head lengthens vertically, opening your spine. And as your elbows draw back, lengthen horizontally. Elbows move away from your spine. Don't do too many. Again, we don't want you to be sore. This is one that I see people doing incorrectly too often. Remember that if you do it incorrectly, all you do is create more compression in this area that's already too compressed. And if you do it correctly, it opens and decompresses that space. So please do make sure you're doing it right. If you're not sure, feel free to send me a video of your movements, and I'm happy to tell you how you can do better, or that you're doing perfectly. It could happen. And then again, hands floating up, back of the head. This time using the hands to turn side to side. This passive rotation, using the heels of your hands to push gently. Taking your time. Softening that gallbladder line. And then again, we release. So then again, softening. This by itself is wonderful for opening the gallbladder line here, tops of the shoulders. So take your time to soften lengthwise around. Hands against the back of the head. Gently looking down, a little pressure against the back of the head. Looking up against that pressure. Emphasizing the opening and softening quality. But we do want to slightly strengthen those postural muscles without strain. Since we've been doing this for about a month, soon we'll be able to increase the number, but if you're still feeling tense or sore afterward, please do back off and do fewer. You do not want to introduce more tension at these places. Just go twice as slow and you'll get twice the benefits if you need to strengthen this area. There's no rush. And then, coming up the center line, palms sink down before they reach the heart, all the way around, your shoulder blades sink, pressing up gently, lengthening. Hands coming down, gently pushing on the top of the head. Neck lengthens to push back. Lengthen your spine up. And then again, lengthen your spine as your hands push down. Don't tighten the tops of your shoulders. And then again, we open, releasing the sides of the body, the tops of the shoulders, palms turned forward all the way down until they reach the lateral aspect of the body. And then you release so that your arms are falling into this more appropriate shoulder shape. We are slowly creating this new shape where both the front and the back of the shoulder are open. Remodeling the body. Let's do a closing. Adding those last two movements in, the side to side. Remember to keep your head vertical. This, again, may feel impossible for many of you. Make sure you're not tilting your head, just moving it. Releasing these deep structures. And this in particular is very good for that deep line in the area of the gallbladder sinew and through here. So please do take your time with this one. Even if you can only move a millimeter in either direction, that's fine. It's better than not being able to move in that direction at all. And then one last one, softening down your spine. Starting at the top, all the way down. From the top, all the way down. So, coming up the center line, one hand sinks down, one hand presses up. Keep the top of the shoulder released, sides of the neck released, opening along the sides of the waist, softening down. Wait till you release all the way, and then again. Let's do one more on either side. As you go, emphasize the softening open through here. As this turns around, let the shoulder blades sink down the back, and then gently extend, opening along the sides of the body, the rib side, and then softening down. Shoulder blade sinks, shoulder blade slides down the back, top of the shoulder opens, side of the neck opens, and keep it open, softening the rib sides open, that elasticity I talked about, and then a wave of softness all the way to the ground, melting. Great. That frozen shoulder movement, that's so fun. So, touching the opposite ear, turn your head, use your hand to gently help you turn your head. Softening open. Opposite hand. Notice if the side of your neck or the top of your shoulder is gripping, and let it go. And then here, as you open, soften open through the rib side and the hip into that more correct shoulder position. Just a couple times on either side. And then let's allow the hand that comes up the side, softening the rib side, softening the top of the shoulder. Hand slides down to the opposite side as you turn your waist. Remember that the hand raises in a way that it's as though your thumb passes just behind your head. But keep your neck long, the crown of your head up. Shoulder sinks. And then again closing. Your awareness settling inside, between your navel and your spine. Let's do some black snake twisting around a tree. And remember, for those of you that have been really enjoying this Snake and Turtle series and Snake and Turtle form in general, Snake and Turtle, please do find a way to reach out to Shoko-san, Shoko-sensei. Her email and link is down in the bio. And just tell her thank you for spreading this. She has worked so hard for so many decades to help raise the level of skill of Qigong and Taiji and health in the world. She's so generous and so kind, and it's just wonderful to reach out and let her know that. And as well, all of my other skills have come from Master Jurchum, so you can always thank him for sharing so openly with the rest of the world, equally trying to help everybody heal and to raise the level of skill that we find around the world. I'm not nearly as skilled as they are, but I do hope that their methods help you as much as they've helped me. Generosity, by the way. Kindness, this is something that's specifically good for the liver and gallbladder sinew channels. So keep it in mind. Black snake. Opening along the sides, softening the shoulders, softening the neck. This is another that, because of the twisting and the nature of the movement, is wonderfully healing for this gallbladder channel, gallbladder sinew channel. Turning the neck, softening the shoulders, looking back behind. Make sure that you're moving your whole spine so that your rib cage and your waist are being engaged. Looking up and back, softening the front of your body. Looking down and back, softening the back of your body. Releasing that gallbladder channel on the hips. And then taking the time to soften again all the way through to the ground. Don't rush. As usual, you can either place your hand against the back of your head and simply turn your head with your palm, or if you'd like, a slightly more intense version is reaching all the way across to your ear and tugging from there. But please be gentle. Move in the way that your body is moving today. Opening along the sides of the body. One more time on either side. Remember that the whole spine twists. You don't want the movement to be trapped or stuck in just a single vertebra. Everything fluidly moves together, and especially releasing all the way down to the tailbone, the sides of the hips. And closing when you're finished. feels nice. Let's do a little bit of basic prep work for the golden snake movement. Excuse me, for the white snake movement. Softening your shoulders. Let your chest sink, your chest lift. Both directions. As your elbows lift, keep your shoulders soft and let your ribs open, expanding to the sides of your hips. Don't let your hips come forward. Keep your hips and your lower back open. And again, if your body's in a springy position, you actually end up a little springy, which is pretty funny. And then we open and close. Chest sinks, chest lifts. Open along the sides of the body, the hips release. Remember that as you pour your weight to the back leg, your front hip and knee release. Especially for today, that space back here, all the way down the side of the leg. When your weight is in the front leg, your rear hip and knee release, especially down through here. Both sides. And slides up the midline, elbow is high, palm turns forward. Softening the rib side, side of the hip. Don't allow the shoulder to lift. The shoulder blade sinks. Both sides. Soften the back and sides of your neck. Relax your jaw. And then lengthening. Remember, lengthening and opening by itself is good for the gallbladder sinew channel. And we expand. Releasing the sides of your waist. Palms turn forward. Palms press away from each other gently as you soften, lengthen outward. Ribs release, shoulder blades slide down the back. Soften the sides of your hips, tops of the shoulders. Releasing down when you're ready. Remember that if any one of these feels particularly good to you, spend extra time with it. Or if it feels particularly bad, might also be useful for you. I have to go through them rather quickly so we fit in this 90-minute period, but you can always pause it, take as long as you want. This form should look like what you want it to look like. You want it to be comfortable and helpful. White snake, sticking out its tongue. Again, your elbows lift high, shoulder sinks, but that means you soften your rib side. Opening the hips as you pour the weight, turning the waist. Twisting your ribs gently as you turn your waist, softening your lower back. Releasing around your tailbone. Now we do the prep work for golden snake. Let's try a little bit of this one. You can see why it's particularly good for this gallbladder sinew line. So we'll do extra of these. Release all the way to the side of the hip. Turn your waist, which also helps to open both sides. Top of the shoulder stays soft as you come through, opening along the rib side, through the hip, through the side of the leg, to the side of the feet. Both sides. Releasing the ribs, sides of the hips, sides of the glutes, to your tailbone. Softening around the sides of your knees, all the way to the outside, the lateral aspect of your foot. Shoulders open, released. Sides of your neck soft. One of my favorites for soothing that channel. But people that find that gallbladder sinew channel the most stiff or painful may find that particularly difficult. So again, take extra time with it, go slowly, be really gentle, make the movements as small as you need to help open these places that have been frozen. Flower hiding beneath a leaf. Turning the waist, shoulders soft. Turn the waist. Don't twist the hips. Both directions. Let's do a few of these smaller circles before golden snake. I'll use my right hand, my left hand. You use your right hand. Let's start by going in the direction of the little finger, circling in, fingertips circle back, fingertips point out, fingertips point forward, toward you, back, out, forward. So full figure 8, just like usual. Turn your waist. Releasing around the shoulder, softening your neck. I'm putting my hand here so you can see my waist turn, but the hip does not move. Hip does not move. Slightly larger with each movement. Now let's try the other side. In the direction of the little finger, finger points in, fingertips point back, out to the side, forward, in toward the face, out again, forward. So starting small, this comfortable figure 8. Turn your waist if that's comfortable for you. Take some practice. Release your hips. Don't twist your hips. Certainly not your knees. As you improve, like before, we want to have one stable side so that we can open and then close toward it, open away from it, close toward it. This creates more movement through our waist and our rib side, through our whole torso, which is particularly good for this sinew channel. Other hand. This time, let's move in the direction of the thumb. Opening out to the side, fingertips pointing back like a waiter holding a tray, fingertips pointing in, forward, and all the way around. I know some people have difficulty with this series. For some reason, it just feels extra confusing. So feel free to, again, send me a video, ask for help, or just pause the video in each section and try to duplicate my movements. It might get easier with time. It's usually just overthinking it that causes the problem. Overthinking things tends to cause a lot of our problems. Closing toward, opening away from the stable side. Slightly larger each time. One more time. Opening. Closing. Like a swallow in the wind. Comes around. Lead with the fingertips. Open to the side. Fingertips point back. Point in. Point forward. Lead with the fingertips. Turn the waist. Open. Close. One more large movement, as large as feels comfortable, without any strain or discomfort. Shake out a little bit, and then closing. Waiting for the feeling of settling as much as happens for you. Don't rush. Let's do a little bit of golden snake now. Mixture of all of those last ones. Again, we open, soften the sides, releasing all through here, settling without closing those structures. Now, opening around the circle. Turn your waist. Opening away from the stable side, closing toward it. Opening away, soften that hip, closing toward it. Soften the ribs, open all the way around. Breathing normally. This is another wonderful one for the gallbladder sinew channel. Opening. Release the ribs, release the hip. Turn your waist. One more time on either side. Settling. Similarly here, when you're closing, don't clamp your elbows down on your sides. Don't pull down and tighten here. Instead, leave your shoulders open. Kind of hard to see with this dark green shirt. But opening, softening the tops of the shoulders, the sides of the ribs, keeping that sinew line open. Like with all of our practices, we strive to keep all of the channels open when they're opening. And in this position, the whole body is soft and open, so Qi can sink. Let's do a little bit of opening the sky, closing the earth, emphasizing the softening open of the shoulders and the rib side, turning of the waist, the release of your hips. Crown of the head floats up. Both directions. Shoulders sink, softening down the body. Again, closing. Again, skimming over the period of spontaneous practice, the turtle playing in the water practice. So if you enjoy that, feel free to pause the video. I just know that if we include it, we'll run out of time. So let's do a bit of softening, again, through the back and through the hips. Starting with this movement of the head here. Like a car tire rolling backward. Emphasize the opening side. Don't close so much that you compress the closing side. Continue lengthening. Don't close the back of the neck or the throat. Just releasing the neck. Feeling those lines that run along that back corner of the neck to the top of the shoulder. As you look down, feel them lengthen open. Shoulders sink, hands sink. And then let's do a few of the preparatory movements. Hands soften to the back, releasing along the front of the body. And then hands slide down the backs of the legs, hips settling backward. Make sure that the spine stays long, neck stays long. Lead with the hands again on the way up so you don't strain your back. Hips sink back, you don't lean forward. Sliding along the gallbladder sinew line as far as feels comfortable to you. Hips draw forward, you don't lift up. Notice this gallbladder line being massaged gently with the hands. Only as far down as feels comfortable. Let's do it a couple more times. Now emphasize the opening across the glutes, the tailbone, opening, sinking back. Releasing around the tailbone, strictures. Softening as the hips go back. Easing down the sides of the legs. And then, let's try the turtle drinking chi movement. So we're going to soften down in a similar way, opening the tailbone, softening the lower back, releasing the glutes, and then releasing the length of the spine, softening. Crown of the head sinks, tailbone sinks. Make sure you don't compress or hold your breath, and then leading as though at the tip of the nose, top of the head, opening up. A wave softening down. Waiting for any blood pressure irregularities to resolve. I know for many of you that's not a problem, but some small percentage of you feel a little lightheaded at the end of this, and so it's worth going slowly. And then again, you sink down. Release. Flowing upward. A wave opening along the front of the body, and then you wave down along the back of the body. Emphasizing that opening, again, around the tailbone and the glutes. One more time. Only as far down as feels comfortable. I'll go a bit further. And closing. So for those of you who found that releasing along the back was particularly tight, unstable, or painful, stiff, then make certain that you take the time to release. Many of you may find that if you warm it up first, maybe sitting in a bath or on a hot pad, that may actually make this process of opening easier and will help speed the whole opening of this gallbladder sinew line on your body. Let's try a little bit of reaching up and down. This way. Let's soften along the sides of the ribs, tops of the shoulders, lengthening upward, gathering, sinking down, A wave of softness traveling down and through, releasing and releasing. The sky coming through you down into the ground. And then as though you gather up the earth, floating up through the legs, through the tailbone to the lower back, into the center of the body. A couple more, emphasizing this opening, softening the ribs, shoulders, lengthening. Deep release. Like the sky washes through you into the ground. Settling. And then one of my very favorite practices for this gallbladder line, turning your waist. The thing that many people get wrong is they're twisting their hips instead. There is a practice like that, but that is not this one. Instead, keep your hips where they are, turn your waist so that this front hip and the navel get to lengthen away from each other. Twisting your ribs, releasing your lower back, softening that side of the glute in the back, releasing around your tailbone. Easing your ribs, softening the tops of your shoulders. Crown of your head floats up, softening the back and sides of your neck. That is a good practice. I wanted to leave enough time for us to do this one. And then one hand floats up to hit the top of the gallbladder channel here. This one floats down, gallbladder 20 on the top, 30 on the back. Try not to hit my microphone. But if it's comfortable in your hands and your wrists, because of course for some people it's very painful, then feel free to just let your hands hover the way I'm doing above the microphone here. But if it is comfortable, then take the time to bounce your hands against your body, like a light massage against these areas, opening your ribs, and then at some point returning. Allowing your whole body to open. Let your awareness sink inside. sinking deep around your neck and shoulders as you release them open. Your awareness soaks in through the muscles and sinews to the bones. And then as well, some awareness along this superficial line, this gallbladder sinew channel we've been talking about. Not very deep beneath the skin, but allow your awareness to fill that as well, soothing it with your mind. Warming around the eyes. As usual, warming and nourishing all of the channels of the face, but of course emphasizing those related to gallbladder sinew. Sides of the eyes, the jaw, around the ear, temples. As you warm the back of the neck, of course, this line here again that we've been talking about, from here, gallbladder 21, excuse me, I think I named it wrong before, 21, 20 is up here. Warming all the way from 20 to 21. Side of the neck, back of the neck, base of the neck, of course. Just for today, emphasizing the sides. Tops of the shoulders. And as usual, as I was mentioning, especially in the beginning of this practice, almost a month ago now, you guys have been at it for a while, you can spend extra time using liniments and oils, creams that have herbs in them, things to help release the body, various tools and canes and thumpers to help open these spaces and help them release and circulate. So once you find these difficult areas, keep track of them. Do what you need to do in order to help them heal. Spend a little extra time here on the rib side, all the way up beneath the arm. And now, again, we can warm the lower back as usual. Always a worthwhile thing to spend some time with. But we do want to emphasize again, around the tailbone, off to the sides here. Much like we did yesterday with the stomachs in you channel, some of this have overlapping relationships, but especially for the gallbladder, spending time on the sides of the hips, sides of the legs, all the way down, outside of the knee, outside of the lower leg, to the ankle, side of the foot to that fourth toe. Spend as long as you need warming, releasing, nourishing that, helping circulation. And with the arms, emphasize this release from the top down, letting go of the shoulder, back of the neck. All the way from the shoulder down to the hand. In and out a little bit, softening the outside of the hips. Softening the hips, emphasize a release of the waist and the ribs. And then using the hips to shake the shoulders. The whole body. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me. I hope this is very, very helpful. Remember to spend extra time focusing on the things that will help you the most. Do the practice, but come to understand your body. Disentangle those most difficult lines, and you'll find that it helps the rest of the body be free as well. And then a little bit at a time, you become whole. I'm happy that I get to do it with you. I will see you tomorrow.